16 after 7, they look at the traffic picture coming out of Roseville. Westbound 80 slowing up now at Greenback Lane. Westbound 50 starts to slow down just a bit in between Watt Avenue and 65th Street. Traffic brought to you by Zero Res Sacramento. Here now is Dan. What's up, Dan?
Hey, Sean, it's Monday. That means the Chicago shooting report. 21 shot, 5 dead in that city that seems to be in the grips of hell. It's just no other way to put it. I mean, it's an ongoing thing. Speaking of hell,
yes,
the drone strike on Netanyahu's home, kind of along the lines of the story that Dan brought up about the leak from the Pentagon apparently to Iran regarding the attack that Israel was planning. I believe that the Hezbollah, Hamas, all those outfits, they have very poor intelligence. They're not well organized. They had to have been helped to pull this off. Now, thankfully, Netanyahu was not at his home. None of his family were there and all that. But that's going to happen again. So, but again, there's so many traitors within this Biden-Harris White House. It's not even funny. I mean, President Trump, once he wins, and he is going to win, one of the things he has to do immediately is root out everybody. I mean, fire everyone that had any association with Biden and Harris. That's the only way to move forward with this. I've been hearing a lot of people who are very fearful because they're thinking that Donald Trump is going to win. There's going to be a variety of protests throughout the country. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. I'm certain there's going to be riots and lootings and burnings of Democrat cities and Democrat leaders, such as, if you want to call them that. They're going to let this happen. I remember here in Sonoma, when Trump won back in 2016, there was a protest at the Plaza, which is sort of the center of town here, and the protest was about Donald Trump being a misogynist and a womanizer, that kind of thing. But of course, when 2000 shows up and Biden wins, he's got a long history of investigated and non-investigated accusations of him, well, no protest from the left.
Weren't there reports, I seem to remember reports of Biden showering with his kid?
That was in his daughter's book.
That was in his daughter's book?
Yeah, his daughter wrote a thing, and she said that's what happened. I mean, I just spent the weekend with both my daughters. I have 2 daughters, and so I can't even imagine the creepiness of that kind of thing, with Biden. But Biden is just, he needs to be mentally evaluated. I mean, it's probably too late for me, but he needed that long ago. If that's true, and I'm certain it is, because his daughter wouldn't write that for no reason. I do want to end on this, though. The Dodgers and Yankees are in the World Series, and I know you detest the Dodgers, but it's a matter of who you hate more. George Steinbrenner ruined it for me. I've never been a Yankees fan because of him in the 70s. I'm going to have to go with the Dodgers, but I suggest that we might start a GoFundMe page for the relief element for Dan from Elk Grove. I think he's going to need to be comforted. I think this audience can step it up, and we can put something together.
Yeah, I think he saw it coming, though. But yeah, the audience can do it, and I couldn't be more disinterested in this World Series, to be honest. I mean, Dodgers, Yankees, it's time for a nap.
The only interest I have is Shohei. How is Shohei going to perform in his first World Series?
The money that's flying around because of that makes me ill, Dan, to be honest. But, yeah. Thank you, Dan, though. You are a fine American.
Thanks. But a lousy Mexican.
And an A's fan?
And an A's fan and a Cubs fan.
That is awesome. I'll talk to you later. All right, it is 19 after 7. 19 past 7. And still big-time delays on westbound 80 headed toward Davis. Crash at Childs Road. Also, northbound 5 slowing up at the I-80 interchange if you're headed to the airport. Traffic brought to you by ZeroResSacramento.com. Here now is Dan. What's up, Dan?
Well, Sean, bouncing off the story that you had started the show with early this morning.
What? And I don't remember that far back.
Okay. Let me refresh your memory then. The California Globe story of California having far more people out of power than out in the Florida's hurricane-ravaged state. You wonder why nobody speaks about this? And first of all, you don't hear this on the news, and you don't hear anything from the Republican Party about this. This should be front and center because, again, these people who are out of power are not in the cities. They're not. I guarantee you, they're not in San Francisco, Los Angeles. I'm certain not Sacramento. They're out in the suburbs.
Well, we don't have PG&E here, just to clarify. These are all PG&E customers, right?
I thought PG&E was still incorporated Sacramento.
Not for electric, just for gas.
Interesting. Okay, now I understand. All right. But it's not so much PG&E; it's the California Public Utilities Commission pulling the strings on this, and that goes back to Gavin Newsom. But the question is what to do about it. Well, we are counting on the Republican Party. And I just looked at the Republican Party's website. They have no mention of this. To their credit, they do have a mention of gas gouging by Gavin Newsom. Not that easy to say this early this morning. So there is a little story on it, which is fine. And they go to some detail and they quote the LA Times and Sacramento Bee about, Newsom and the legislature's actions, which has kicked out so far 3 energy companies, which is not easy to do. One thing I don't see in this piece from the California GOP's website is what are they planning to do about this? All they're doing is identifying the problem. We all know what the problem is. But we want to know, what are you going to do about it, and when are you going to do something about this? So again, we've got 2 weeks before election time. This is where the GOP falls down constantly because they're good at pointing out the problem. They're terrible at coming up with an idea. You can't win an election with no ideas. You can't just simply point the finger of blame at the other person or party and say, hey, look how bad they are. The voter wants to know, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, my hopes are not high for the Republican Party in California.
Which is pretty pathetic, isn't it?
I haven't heard a thing.
Bad.
Like when it comes to, say, Steve Garvey, we've heard nothing. Nothing.
Well, I mean, if I was at the GOP state level, one thing I would do is reach out to California Globe and work side by side with them because, again, there's no media out there. The media doesn't talk about this. And so if you can at least get some semblance of real journalism, which is what California Globe does, that would be a step in the right direction. But they don't think that far ahead. There has been this ongoing war within the GOP for conservatism versus big government establishment types, and it's been going on for a long time. And if you want to make some real change, you have to actually go to the GOP, kick out the establishment, and the entire party at the state level is infested with these people. You try to talk to them about conservative ideas, they give you a blank stare because they're pretty clueless and in the wrong direction. And, I've been touting about this for years. The GOP needs to be completely uprooted. The problem is not enough people go there, and if they do, they're outnumbered by these establishment types, and they will silence you and shut you down.
Yeah, there are a lot of Republicans that are really not all that conservative, Dan. Anyway, as always, you are a fine American.
A lousy Mexican, however, and also I'm rooting for the Dodgers in the World Series.
Well, good for you, Dan. We will talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, bud.
Have a fine day. Well, an incident at the Birmingham Airport in central England. The airport is closed. No one is allowed to go in there. It sounds like there was a suspicious vehicle in the vicinity. Birmingham Airport closed. We will find out details. Sounds like nothing has happened yet. They're just being careful so far. 19 after 7. Time for a call from Dan. What's up, Dan?
Sean, there's a couple of things. Well, first of all, it's good to hear Horatio again. I really enjoy Horatio's calls. He's a very, very smart man. And he's not wrong about the Republican Party with this. Nikki Ellis is the lady that he mentioned. Now,
Yes.
I looked her up, too. She's very, very attractive. I mean, yes, I do. Maybe the Republican Party is using a different approach that might be winning, using very attractive women on the ticket, because nothing else they've done has actually worked. So, hey, I'm all for this. But he's not wrong about how unserious they are. They're just, again, they just flail. They want to play both sides. They want to play the Democrat side by being big government Republican types, and they want to completely oppose conservatives by saying they simply can't win, so they don't support them.
Well, they want their jobs, and they want to make money off of holding public office, just like the Democrats do. That's what a lot of the Republicans are all about. They just want a cushy job. That's what they want. They don't really
Which
care.
is what we don't need.
No, of
Which
course
is what
we don't.
we don't need.
Like Katie Grimes always said, if you're elected to office and that is the best job you ever had, then you shouldn't be there.
Yeah, and there's lots of opportunists who take advantage and get in. Anyway, it's an ugly, ugly situation with the Republican Party, and I don't see it getting any better. But there should be a scolding afterwards after they get swept again.
I'm for scolding, yes.
Yes. Yeah, big time. Something just came to my attention, by the way, just actually this morning. Apparently, Obama had signed a repeal of a law called the what was
Constitution?
it? The Smith-Mund Act, and what that was put in 1948. And basically, the idea behind it was to prevent government from putting propaganda into the media. Well, Obama, of course, repealed it. I believe through executive order. I could be wrong about that. But I was asking myself for the longest time, because I know the media has gotten worse and worse and worse, but there was a pivotal point, and I think that was it, because once with that act out of the way, the media could say and do whatever it wanted, including working openly hand-in-hand with the Democrat Party, which is what they're doing. And so I think that's one of the things. But President Trump is going to have an extremely tall order. He'll be busy literally every day getting rid of things like that, re-implementing that sort of thing, and again, attacking the media, which has become a propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. That can't be allowed to stand. So, but my greatest worry is this, though. President Trump will win, but the Democrats, Biden and Harris, are going to punish the American voter for the next 2 months at least, because that's, after the election, they've got over 2 months to do whatever they want.
Exactly.
And that's a dangerous, dangerous time. And they're going to be putting everything through as often as possible. Our only hope at this point is that Johnson, the Speaker, stands up to this. I'm not counting on it, but again, that's all we've got.
Yeah, that's the transition period that, that kind of reminds me of 1860 when Lincoln won and all the states, or many of the states, left the Union before he even took office.
That figures. That's something along the lines. And one last thing. Goodbye to Fernando Valenzuela. Gonna miss him. He was a great Dodger, interesting character, but he will be missed.
Only 63.
That's scary, because you and I ain't that far from 63. So
I really hate it when that happens.
Yes, you're not kidding.
It's hitting too close to home. I intend to be around to cause trouble for a heck of a lot longer. All right, just so we have it straight.
I'm shooting for 100. So yeah, I plan to pass everyone until then.
Indeed. As always, Dan, you're a fine American.
And unlike Fernando Valenzuela, a lousy Mexican.
Thanks, man. Talk to you later. (18:07), a crash on the American River Bridge with lanes blocked and traffic backed up to the I-80 split on the southbound Cap City Freeway. Traffic brought to you by ZeroResSacramento.com. Here now is Dan. What's up, Dan?
Morning, Sean. I had predicted that Madam Meatpad would be running a closeted campaign months ago. And the reason why is obvious, because they knew that she wasn't able to speak. Now, why they threw this woman out as their candidate,
they couldn't get rid of her.
Well, you asked the question, what were their options? I mean, I'm going all the way back to Biden. I had said that Biden was going to go all the way, and the reason why they're going to do the same thing, run him the way they did him in 2020 in his basement. And I'm surprised he actually debated with Donald Trump, knowing that his cognitive skills were totally gone, and that of course ended his campaign. But what were their other options? I mean, the first choice would be Newsom. Let's say they brought Newsom out. Newsom could have said, "Hey, I'm not part of this Biden-Harris campaign. I'm going to do things differently," and he would have BS'd his way, which is what he does anyway.
He could have said, "Yeah, look at all the stuff I've done for California." That would have worked.
Oh yeah, again, you remember that DeSantis and Gavin Newsom debate? That was a horrible, horrible display for him.
Oh,
but he
was I actually watched
reality. That. I did too. Yeah, that's going to be.
It made my stomach turn.
I think what's going to happen, that's going to be, well, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. The 2028 campaign may be those two, but that's a story for another day. I might talk about that tomorrow. But one of the biggest reasons why Kamala Harris knee pads herself can't get any traction whatsoever. The story by CBS News it's the story about the economy, and they quote who is this guy here? Mark Zandi. Mark Zandi's the chief economist for Moody's. He's a hardcore left-wing economist, wrong about virtually everything. He's quoted here saying, in the 35 years since I've been an economist, I've rarely seen just an economy performing as well as it is. He said, I'd give it an A+. And this is the thing with people there. They're looking at the lower portion of this particular article. It's still up, by the way, on CBS News. And that is what 6 in 10 think the economy is bad. And even worse, only 1 in 10 Americans rate the economy as very good. You can't win you can't win a presidency with that sort of numbers. People are seeing, because they go to the grocery store every day, they see no sales, everything's up at least 50%, if not more. You can't win that argument. And the media is spinning as much as they can. They don't have any answers to lie to the people, because the people are already onto them. So it's all over about the shouting, as far as I'm concerned, going into the presidential election less than 2 weeks from now.
Dan, a small sandwich at the cafe down the street from here is $14. $14. That same sandwich just a couple of years ago would have been about $6.
Yeah. And see, that's the crushing blow that will end the presidency. So I'm going to be celebrating that night when it's over. I'm certain it'll be over that night. But we'll be punished later. But I'm going to enjoy the long faces of the media people once they say Trump is now the president. You
know what that makes you, Dan? A fine American.
A bad Mexican.
That's okay.
Keep in mind, I'm a white man trapped in an Hispanic body. There's nothing I can do about that.
Well, we have therapy for that. But we'll discuss that later.
All right, thanks, bud. Talk to you tomorrow.
Dan in Sonoma, everybody. .717 and a look at traffic. Mostly smooth sailing unless you're on northbound 99. You've got a bit of a slowdown starting at Fruit Ridge Road. Cap City Freeway looking good into the downtown, as is I-5. Traffic brought to you by ZeroResSacramento.com. Here now is Dan. What's up, Dan?
Well, Sean, not that I miss her or anything, but I've noticed that Nancy Pelosi hasn't been around that much. And my suspicion is that her and Kamala Harris don't get along at all. There's no honor among thieves. I think she's disgusted at her performance, and who knows what's going on behind the scenes. But and lo and behold, there's this. Sorry to do this early this morning. There's this poop table. There's a bronze statue of poop that Pelosi has put forward. Why, I have no idea. But anyway, sort of making the news. If you're interested to look it up, I would recommend you don't.
Well, it's a symbol of Democrat policy.
Yeah, that's you couldn't have said it better, pal. Couldn't have said it better. And the timing of the rim shot was also excellent, by the way.
The band is on fire this morning.
Oh, God, I have no doubt.
They're rocking.
They should have fire for Mitch McConnell, who is apparently praising her, according to this article in The Hill. He said, quotes, she did a pretty good job. So, I'm happy McConnell's finally retiring and he's getting out of here. I just hope we don't have another swamp creature to replace him as the minority, hopefully majority leader of the Senate. We'll see what happens. The other story that has got my attention, and you look at the California Globe's piece on George Gascon, who, you look at the profile picture they're using of him, he looks literally insane. He's literally, there's no life in this man's eyes. He is trying to get the Menendez brothers released. And I'm reading the article. It's by Thomas Buckley. And he says that, according to Gascon, he disapproved, quote unquote, of the way the Menendez brothers handled their alleged abuse from their parents. I mean, that's how you They blew blew their heads off, literally with shotguns.
We disapprove.
Yeah, but that's a minor disapproval. But,
Shame on you.
Because of the abuse, you need to be let go.
Yeah.
And there's no evidence of this, by the way. No solid evidence, to my understanding. And the piece touts that the district deputies, they don't like this at all. This is a complete stupid thing to do. This is a sick thing to do. But they'll apparently be out by around Christmas time.
How nice!
Well,
that's heartwarming.
But this is the mindset of the so-called law that's out there in Los Angeles. Now, didn't he face a recall? Did he survive the recall, if I remember correctly? Not that long ago?
Yeah, hopefully the mayor of Oakland won't survive her recall.
I wonder when he's up. I didn't have time to look up when Gascon is up for election again, but this is the kind of sick mentality that they have in the southern part of the state. And this guy, man, but hey, he's gonna fail up. Watch Gascon move up to a higher office.
Could be. You mentioned that Pelosi and Harris don't like each other, and that just got me thinking that I don't think any of those people really like each other. If you're a lefty, you don't really have friends. It seems like they're just all angry at everything.
I think you're right. It's all just a facade, for the cameras. But in the background, behind the scenes, they despise each other.
They're shaking your hand, or they're shaking each other's hands with one hand, and then they got a knife in the other one.
Well, it's game one. Hey, let's just go on this. It's game one of the World Series tonight. What's your call?
Yankees.
Okay, I'm going Dodgers.
I know.
It's going to be Dodgers.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll still be buds. It's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a great weekend,
thanks,
sir.
See you Monday.
Take care. 7:22.